HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective, co-presented by Cognizant.
Inclusion isn't just an agenda, it is a mindset. It is about creating environments where leadership is nurtured, diverse journeys are supported, and every individual has the opportunity to thrive. This is a story of transformation that is driven by purpose and empowered by people. Welcome to HSBC Presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective, co-presented by Cognizant Season 3, where we bring to you stories, voices and visions that are shaping inclusive workplaces. Now, in this special edition of the show, we shine a spotlight on HSBC India's journey and their commitment to building a future-ready, diverse and equitable workplace. And joining us today for this enlightening discussion are Amitabh Malhotra, the Vice Chairman, Investment Banking at HSBC India, Ajay Sharma, MD and Head of Banking at the bank, Anita Mishra, MD and Head of Markets and Securities Services, and Sandeep Batra, the MD and Head of International Wealth and Premier Banking at HSBC India. Anita, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us here today. And Ajay, if I could start with you, it's been 3 years of partnership between HSBC and, at CNBC-TV18, the Future Female Forward Women's Collective. What does the platform really stand for you? What does it signify for you?
First of all, thank you for inviting us all here.
Our pleasure.
And this is really strategically important for the firm, making sure that we really work through the gender questions, the issues that we face, and how do we really progress in a long-term, committed, strategic manner. For me and for the bank, I think, one, does our population reflect what the general population is out there? And it doesn't. And therefore, globally, the bank has taken a decision that we have to do more than what we've been doing so far. This is, I think we are probably year 5 or year 6 in the journey, even globally as a bank. And we have made great progress. For me, the strategic reason is that how do you drive change in the organization, and how do you drive change without diversity of thought, of gender, amongst other things. So this is really one of the critical reasons that the bank has embarked on this journey.
All right. Anita, to you personally, what does the platform mean? And to you, what is real diversity?
I completely agree with Ajay. This platform has allowed us to find a conduit, through which what the journey that HSBC has done, in diversity and inclusion for the last 5-6 years, as Ajay pointed out, to form a conduit to, bring it out to a wider set of people, set a lot of dialogues, around this issue. And I think if you look at it, the BFSI space is absolutely the right space to have these conversations. If we can make a change here, this really means something in terms of a paradigm shift, and to me, diversity is really about all kinds of people, whether it's gender, whether it's age difference. And we see a lot of diversity, by the way, in terms of the younger generation joining banking today and having such different thought process and approach to, how we were 20 years ago. And I think that leads to better decision making. When you hear the voice of all, it's instead of just one type of navy blue suited investment bankers or rolled up sleeve traders.
Yeah. Well, as Anita put it, Amitabh, I mean, especially in BFSI, which, traditionally has been a very male dominated segment of, business. What has been the significance of a platform like this that we've built?
I mean, male-dominated kind of workforce was something of a past now, and I would say that has changed fast and changed in a very strong footing kind of approach where you have representation from people from all walks of life. So it's not just about gender or thought, even in terms of background. There was a time when it was felt that banking, especially investment banking, was reserved for only people of certain texture and background in terms of family affluency, and that is no longer the case, whether it's talking about tier 1 city, tier 2, 3 city. You have representation in banking from all kind of sections of society, and to kind of embrace that and to adopt that and make sure that your policies, your decision making, your benefits, it accrues to all kind of folks, all kind of employee workforce.
Well, Sandeep, you think HSBC is walking the talk?
Clearly it is, but we've been around 170 years in India.
Yeah.
And just imagine the amount of change the country has been through those 170 years, how much we would have changed with that change to be here with the country and walking with the country. I think this clearly is an investment working with you, working with clients, working with communities, which actually prepares us for the future. So clearly the firm is walking the talk, but also getting ready. This is the start of what I would believe the next 170 years for the bank, and which means that this is a strategic change, getting the right number of people in and resembling how the communities look and feel like.
All right. Well, Ajay, let's get into some of the specific programs that you have at HSBC when you talk about diversity. I mean, there's talent pool, there's short-term assignments, and high visibility leadership really, to make a real difference. Tell us about these specific programs and the kind of work that you've done at the bank here.
So the programs are at all levels, right? So there's a talent pool for some of our senior folks.
Yeah.
And it goes a certain level. Then at even more junior levels, I sponsor a program called You Grow, where again we give very specialized training for people who are probably becoming managers for the first time, for example. And then as we develop leadership plans for our lots of people that we have, we work through saying, okay, here are areas that you need to get better at. And it could be, how do you embrace data? Right? Because that's the new fuel in the way the banking works. What is it that you want to learn about AI? And then we send people overseas for short-term assignments. So we've had really great success as a bank in certain areas like startups and financing programs. So we've sent our people, one, to learn, to Singapore, to Paris, to learn what is it that they're doing there, but also to teach. And then finally, I think, as an international bank, we pride ourselves on providing mobility to people. So, I mean, we just had our head of trade move to Singapore, and she's going to run a regional role out there. So we're very proud of our best talent, who we have nurtured and grown to the next level, moving internationally.
Well, that is one thing to talk about. But, in banking, interpersonal relationships are very, very important. Give us a sense of the kind of role that having diversity in your own organization plays when it comes to strengthening your relationships with your clients.
What diversity does for a bank like us is it brings different ideas to the fore. So I have this small team, and they're focused on data. And I really think the asset that they have created creates a competitive advantage for us. And it helps me serve our customers better because we exactly know what they need. So we walk into clients, we know the products that they require, so we're not generally randomly talking to them about things that they don't need. What facilities they require, what do they look like from a credit perspective. And this was really possible because we had a bunch of people who just thought differently from most of us. And these are the younger lot who are so data literate. It's amazing to work with them, right? Because they generally walk into your room bubbling with ideas, and what we help is then help them shape and define what will make the most impact. But it's amazing to work with people who think so differently from me and everybody else.
Amitabh, let me ask you, there are more programs. He's spoken about You Grow and some of the mentorship programs, but you're specifically looking at something called Launchpad. At HSBC, you're also looking at Mentorverse. Tell us a bit about these programs first.
Mentorverse, let me pick that first because I actually volunteered for that program myself, so I've been through it. So I'm a good case study if you want to refer to it. But basically, this is all about reverse mentoring. It is targeted towards senior leadership and ExCo members out here as well. And what it does, it pairs you, i.e. the senior leadership, with a younger employee in the firm. And basically, the purpose is to understand the generational difference between various age bracket, how to have open communication, what are the drivers, what does work mean to them in terms of value, because they all have purpose, they have goals from that. And that creates bridges and in communication and better understand your team members. But you talked about Launchpad. Now, this is the other way. This is the program that caters to campus hires. And this is to help them with their development, create a path of growth within the organization, pretty much caters to second or third year of their stay. And what it does, it creates various platforms, opportunities, like there is a boot camp organized which gives them executive presence. If you were to kind of, look at some of the other, mentorship is certainly a program that they embrace and they enjoy. And a whole lot of such opportunities where they feel a sense of belonging and they don't get lost in an organization.
What we hear often from many organizations at HSBC as well, carer leave, allowance for childcare, you're talking about flexible working hours and so on and so forth. Are these just good to have, or have they ensured that there's a real, shift when it comes to retention, when it comes to efficiency of the workforce?
No, this just makes good business sense as well.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do for the people who work for you, work for the organization. It enables to build a certain kind of culture that is conducive for creating future leadership. Retention is certainly one of the benefit that comes out there. There is a loyalty aspect to it as well. And a bunch of programs that you mentioned out there. So whether these are allowances that have been created for a returning mother, and you do imagine that a new mother who's just got an infant at home is torn between career and personal life. And things that we have done out there, and not just right now, I think 2019 we started this program whereby we created monthly allowance for young mothers who have children to the age of 2. And then we kept improvising on this. The next year, we expanded it to all primary caregivers, which could include single male parent. And whether it's for child, whether it's for older parents, we've got various benefits that address even to a pet if you need to look after.
That's lovely to hear.
Oh, we are very inclusive in our approach and open-minded, and that's really the purpose out here.
Well, hold that thought. We have a lot more to talk about, but I have to take a short break on that note. That's it for this segment, but do stay on with us because we're going to dive deeper into HSBC India's inclusive strategies right after this very short break.
HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective, co-presented by Cognizant. HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective, co-presented by Cognizant.
Welcome back to HSBC Presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective, co-presented by Cognizant Season 3. Well, let's continue our conversation on building a future-ready and diverse workplace with our distinguished panel. Gentlemen, Anita, thanks very much for staying on. Just before the break, we were talking about the carer leave. You were talking about leave not just for taking care of children, even for pets. So that's a pretty inclusive workspace that I'm hearing about. And Ajay, the role managers would play in something like this.
Yes, I mean, our role and all the managers' roles are super important. So I had this gentleman walk in very happy with sweets. And I said, what's up? And, oh, baby boy. And so I said, what are you doing in office? Don't you have paternity leave? And we shooed him out of the office very quickly. So I'm very proud to say that as managers, we want this embedded. And I think maternity leave is easy. The paternity leave aspect is something that we have to reinforce.
Anita, let me talk about the space that you're in, and that is, market securities. You spoke about these blue-suited men earlier. Traditionally, again, something that you'd associate with, a male gender, the kind of roles that would create. But what are you at HSBC doing to encourage more women to come up in the field?
First of all, the environment itself, I would say, has become a lot better. The second thing we really do is we try to demystify. We try to demystify the trading floor, right? And I go to campuses, we do a lot of hiring from campuses. So for me, that is an annual feeder thing. So we go there, we try to, demystify, what we do and how it's actually a very collaborative environment. How, the different roles of trading, sales, research, how it all comes together, We try to always scout for talent, both internally as well as externally, We also do a lot of financial literacy. So I think it's important to do indirect marketing as well. As women get more comfortable with stocks, mutual funds, interest rates, etc., they'll realize, the trading floor is no real different from any other place in the BFSI.
But, tell us about the kind of work you're doing at HSBC. You have a program that is called Power to Her. Has that really helped retain women, help them stay in the workforce for longer periods of time than you would have without something like it?
Absolutely. I think Power to Her is absolutely, for me personally, the most flagship program we have out there in terms of telling women who've taken a very long break. So it's not just women, who've gone on a maternity break that's turned into 2 years. It's women who've gone into a break of 5 years, 10 years.
For any sort of reason.
For any sort of reasons, right? Singh, we get them. And initially when we started this program, it was a 12-week thing. But the demand for it was so good because the quality of women we got was so good that we extended it to become a 6-month program.
Sandeep, let's also talk about other kinds of diversity. Let's talk about disability diversity at HSBC and the work you're doing there.
Sure. I think one, becoming disability friendly is not just for the workplace, it's also for our clients. So we're doing work for our colleagues where we've done extensive work, whether it's a workplace adjustment, just making sure our physical form factor is ready for people with different levels of disability. We've had wonderful examples of staff come in. I have a colleague in the overseas international business who came in as an analyst and just became a new manager, but has been leading. She traveled with us in the most recent award ceremony. It was an international trip. We wanted to make sure that it was possible for her to be able to join her, but she rocked that, and in her new role, she's doing very well as well. So making the physical premises is one thing, but our ERGs, our employee resource groups, our ability ERG is making sure that the mindset is also changing.
These policies you've put in place, whether that is for differently abled people, whether that is for gender diversity, give us metrics if you have any as to how it has helped retain, your workforce for longer, what kind of efficiencies this has brought in.
I think this is good business. I think any data, whether you see consultants talk about it, whether it's our own P&L, diverse workplaces create a lot more innovation.
And they make economic sense?
They definitely make economic sense. And when you see attrition levels, see, people leave the firms when they are not seen, heard, or just the fact that this firm is making sure that you're making those changes and you're acknowledging all forms of diversity is definitely appreciated by the colleagues who have that disability, but much beyond that.
Anita, all said and done, while there are policies that at least aspire to bridge these kind of gaps, are there challenges that still exist you wish, organizations would do more to build?
No, of course, see, there are challenges. I mean, I think legacy is the biggest challenge. You're fighting against what's been considered social norms for, hundreds of years, and, saying like, I think the question's still rife, and it's not just the metros and tier 1, tier 2 cities. Should women work? Should women not work? Etc. kind of a thing. What kind of jobs should women do? Kind of a thing. There are still lots of unconscious biases. I think women generally feel more guilty. I feel that there is a lot of shift that needs to be done in making them belong in the place they are in, because very often a woman is in two places. She's at her work and at her home through that 24/7. So I think making that change and getting women to feel more confident about themselves is a big thing. The journey is far from over, but you got to start somewhere and you got to keep going. And I think that's what we are very good at doing.
Well, Ajay, of course, we know that leaders play a big role in bridging some of these gaps, but any 2 to 3 lessons you'd have for your peers who are watching this to keep in mind to ensure that the workplace that they're building is more equitable, more just?
So I think leaders need to be very flexible in the way they treat employees. And, especially many of our employees join us because many of the policies are very friendly. I think we have to be very flexible in accepting that people come to office to work. It doesn't have to be outside your office anymore. So flexible working, the policies exist. How do we get out of the mindset that I need to see you every day to make sure that you're working?
For some of the young, impressionable minds that are looking to join the workforce, would you have a few things to say?
Well, all I'll say to the younger folks is that embrace the environment, be the ambassador of change, provide enough time to yourself to go through this experience. Watching is one of the strong element of learning with all the kind of flexibility put out there in terms of working from home, working from office, time in terms of ability. The job itself tells you where you need to function in what format. The leader's job is to make sure that that is transmitted in a way that there is energy level that kicks in with the youth that is there as part of your workforce, because these are your future leaders. Simultaneously, the youth in the workforce can do a lot bit on their side. So it's a partnership and collaboration.
Well, you know, we've heard plenty from all of you folks about the work you're doing to ensure that this is a more equitable workforce. But one final thought from everyone, starting with you, Amitabh, about the next big thing you think HSBC would be focusing on to ensure that this is a reality?
The next big thing, I think I'll just put it this way, that while our business is growing on a tremendous pace, and Sandeep particularly is going to be opening a lot of branches in the near future, our policies, our plans, our philosophy about equity should just trickle down into the lowest common denominator. And I'm talking about not just a Mumbai or a Chennai branch or a Bangalore branch, but it kind of spread out across the organization and is embraced by everyone. Success comes together.
All right. Ajay?
So I think the country is going through tremendous change, and we therefore need to also embrace change, right? So leadership and managing change are going to be the two big defining principles for successful organizations.
All right. Anita, your two bits.
I think this is a firm that's going to come out very clear about what are the views, what does it want to do. It's not going to be a firm that's going to be impacted by too many external factors, etc. And we're seeing that clarity come through now, you know, very easily. And I think we will have our own identity in terms of what HSBC means for diversity and inclusion, and that identity is going to be known, and it's going to be a very strong identity of us. That's definitely, my view.
Sandeep, you have the last word.
No, I think the 40,000 colleagues of HSBC India make HSBC India the place it is. So, but I think one of the things we did not speak about is artificial intelligence. So while that will power technology, while that will power productivity and innovation, I think it will also be an ally in diversity and inclusion. I think it will allow us to create the tools to be able to bridge some of the inabilities we deal with. So clearly excited. I think we have multiple pilots going on. So more to come.
On that note, Amitabh, Ajay, Anita, Sandeep, thank you so much for candidly sharing these thoughts, and we hope the audience has a lot to take away from everything that you've shared with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, these stories aren't just inspiring, they are transformational, and they are proof that when inclusion is intentional, everyone rises. From restarting careers to building them from the ground up, HSBC India's inclusive ecosystem is paving the way for real sustained change where policies meet empathy and ambition meets action. As businesses evolve, so must the workplace, and HSBC India is not just keeping up, it is leading that change. With inclusive leadership, bold programs and a culture of care, the future is not just female, it is forward. On that note, it's goodbye and thanks so much for watching.
HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective, co-presented by Cognizant.